Hey guys, what's going on? Hope you're all doing great. So today I was working on something on stream that hopefully is going to help a lot of us out. And I know this isn't exactly an easy void shard from this tournament right here, but if you can get this team working, which I've been trying my best to make an as free to play, as accessible team as possible. My first place person only has 282 points, which really isn't that much. Now he is pushing, this first place person is, but for me, I may or may not be able to place first. But hopefully some of you have probably people in your brackets who have no points whatsoever. So this team can hopefully help you guys out with progression. Now, I want to go ahead and apologize for the green screen outline you have around me. My green screen's not lit well enough yet to actually be blended in perfectly. So I'm going to get that fixed. Hopefully you guys can overlook that. But I'm going to go over this team that I made. Now, this team is not 100% consistent. Honestly, the champions in this team, I'm going to give you guys some ideas of champions you can replace them with. And if you can replace them, you should probably adjust some of them as needed. And they're not fully maxed out, but this team does work on stage 20. You can do it on stage 17. You can do it on stage 13 if you really wanted. But stage 20, maybe even stage 17 if you just really want to go for the void shard. But stage 20, definitely. Sorry also if you hear a mower in the background or kids screaming. A lot of busy stuff going on right now. But this team right here is the one that I was running. So it's Bellower, Shatterbones, Rosin, Satyr, and Broadmaw. So Broadmaw and Satyr both are level 50. They have no masteries whatsoever. Shatterbones, Rosin, and Bellower are all level 60, fully masteried, but there's substitutions for basically all these champions, and you can make this way better than what I have, okay? So Broadmaw, he's in here for his res. When somebody dies, he's level 50, so there's a very good chance that he dies as well, but also, to note, all these champions will likely be used in Faction Wars if you are still working on Faction Wars, so investing in them is not necessarily bad at all. But Broadmaw, he's here for the res if somebody goes down. He's here for the increased speed, so you want him to be as fast as possible. I have him going fastest in my team, so he does that increased speed first. Increased crit rate's not a huge deal, but it actually synergizes with Satyr pretty well. So he's there for the increased speed. A1 ability, nothing special, a little bit of CC, mainly just for this ability, and then res if he might goes down. Shatterbones is here for an incredible A2 ability with very good turn meter decrease, also has a 3 hit on that A2 ability, so it helps break the shield of the Fireknight. The A3 ability does a 15% decreased speed, which Bellower also brings a decreased speed, but this also brings a fills turn meter by 25%, and it's a pretty solid ability overall. His A1 gives an increased attack to all allies. If it's critical, I'm not worried about it being critical. Shatterbone stats are as follows. 220, speed and accuracy are the main two important things. I'll show their masteries in just a second as well. Bellower is in a stun set. He also has the Harvest Despair mastery, which has given him the chance to apply the stun. When he applies the stun, he's also applying leech to the enemy, which is hopefully helping heal my allies a little bit. None of them are doing very much damage, so it's not healing a ton, but I'm hoping that at least has enough healing to kind of keep me sustained throughout these matches. Now, his block active skills, very good. A2, decreased speed, very, very helpful in the Fireknight when it actually lands. Decreased attack and decreased defense are very, very helpful as well. I'm not running with Duke in this. Duke is weak affinity on stage 20, so I don't have a strong version of decreased attack and decreased defense. If you have a champion who can do strong version of decreased attack and decreased defense, it's very, very helpful because the Fireknight does get a turn, and if he does, it's kind of sketchy. And like I'm saying, this is not 100%. You can build off this. This is kind of like the bare minimum that it does work. It's slow, but it gives you an idea. Okay, now Satyr is actually a champion who's very, very good. His A2 attacks 4 times at random. When you get to the Fireknight, there's only one person to attack. So this 4 times at random only attacks the Fireknight. Each hit decreases the turn meter by 15% if his attack is critical. So you need to build Satyr with good speed, 100% crit rate, and good accuracy. Now, like I was saying with Broadmaw, you could maybe drop Satyr's crit rate a little bit. You could actually drop him even more because he is strong affinity. So you could build him with 85% crit rate and get all the crits on the boss. So that's actually something to keep in mind. So if you can't hit this, you can drop it down a little bit. Now I have mine in Relentless gear, but if you can put him in Reflex gear to reduce the cooldown of his A2 ability, that could be very, very good. If you're Relentless gear, like I said, that's what I have mine in. It's very, very helpful as well. Now, some other champions I think are going to be very good. I'm going to show all the masteries and stats of my champions before we jump into this. But some other champions I think can be very, very good is Tuhawk the Wanderer, very good champion. Kreela can have very good abilities to break the shield. Growhawk has a good turn meter manipulation ability, another legendary champion. Obviously, you got a lot of legendaries like Krisk who are very, very good as well. Maneater, or it's actually incredible. Maneater has the block or the unkillable, block debuffs, and he also has an A2 that if you build accuracy on it, he fully depletes the enemy's turn meter, which is incredible. So masteries on Bellower, this is what he's looking like. So we did Shatterbones already. Bellower. Razin is locked out to his A1 and A3 only, so he's not using his A2 ability. This ability does help speed it up, but when Razin uses this on the boss, it feels bad if he uses it on the shield. If he would use this only on the shield, that'd be perfect, but unfortunately he doesn't, so this does slow the run down a little bit, only using the A1 and the A3, but I want the turn meter reduction here. If you have champions who can keep the turn meter down better, then you can open up Razin a little bit easier, but how it is currently for me, I'm not able to do that. Now, Satyr, Relentless Gear, like I mentioned, not very crazy at all. HP basically non-existent, so he's pretty weak. He does die pretty easily. And then Broadmaw is just basically as fast as I could get him, 232, faster than everybody else. Let's go ahead and jump in here and see how this runs. I don't want to take a ton of your guys' time. My goal with this video is to push this out there because I know a lot of people have kind of like dabbled in trying to get a team like this to work for them, because if you can do some, you're going to be better off than people who are not doing anything in this tournament, right? This tournament doesn't have very many people trying for it whatsoever, but there are actually some champions who do very, very well. So I'll go over a few others that I can think of. Like I said, we have the Shatterbones, very, very good. His cooldowns are a little bit long, so if you can get him in Relentless, if you can get him in Reflex, that's going to be pretty good. I didn't want to fully deck all my champions out in Relentless gear because I wanted this to be as relatable and accessible and achievable to as many people as I could make it. So I didn't fully get everybody just like maxed out. Plus, I'm not going to have this team run very long. So it is what it is there. Now, Gnarlhorn, I used him earlier. Gnarlhorn has an AoE provoke ability, which is very, very helpful. He's also strong affinity, so these waves are going to be weak hitting on him, which is actually pretty good. Now, he only has a single hit on his A1 ability, which doesn't help out a ton, but having that constant provoke helps out a lot. If you do run him, I would make him fast, throw him in Immortal gear, and he should do pretty decent because he'll get those heals each turn. I tried him in Lifesteal, doesn't work that well because his A1 doesn't hit very hard and he just doesn't cycle around to it very much at all. Now, Growhawk, very good. Tuhawk is very good. Honestly, Bloodfeather has a turn meter reduction. She seemed pretty good as well. Grappler, he's a rare and the Skinwalkers seem like a pretty solid option. He has a 2-hit on his A1. He also has a shield and a reflect damage on his A3 ability, which can help your team survive a little bit longer. I believe the shield is based on your ally's HP, so it's even better because you don't have to worry about getting him to 6-star. He can work at 5-star. Maybe bring him in alongside Broadmaw, who has a res. The Hippo champion, Hofris, also has a res. You can bring her in as well. But Grappler, the 2-hit on the A1 plus the reflect damage, basically, if you have reflect damage up and the Fireknight hits, then you're going to have 5 ticks of the shield instantly erased, which is so, so helpful. Now, Razin, he's a great champion to have. If you don't have him, bring somebody else who can do a turn meter reduction because, to be honest, his A3 ability is going to need the books. And if you don't have it booked, it's going to feel even longer of a cooldown. But his cooldown as it is currently feels like it takes so long to get to. I think it's 6-turn cooldown. So same thing with Razin. If you have Reflex gear, and you can put him in the Reflex gear, lock out the A2 ability. Anytime he takes a turn, he'll have a chance of reducing the cooldown of that A3 ability, helping him cycle around quicker. If you want to throw him in Relentless gear, very solid option as well, because his A1, very, very good with knocking the shield down. His A3, the turn meter reduction, also helps out a ton. So definitely a champion who is a pretty solid option for Relentless gear, Reflex gear, either one of those options. This team, Bellower, is actually so, so helpful. On the Fireknight himself, he doesn't do great for breaking the shield. Everything's only a single target ability, but he brings decreased speed, he brings decreased attack, and he brings decreased defense. Since we're locking out Razin's A2, we don't have decreased defense. We don't have the weaken either, but that's not really a huge deal. Granted, Bellower's is a pretty small version of everything, so you got to keep that in mind. It's not going to be amazing. Satyr is actually a very good champion. Once again, another champion who, if you're working on Faction Wars right now, you're likely going to be using him in Faction Wars, and if you don't, you can definitely build him to help you out with Faction Wars a lot. Now, Fleshmonger is another Skinwalker champion, a rare Skinwalker champion who has an AoE decreased defense, also a 3-hit on the A1 ability, and his other ability grants an extra turn. So he's going to be cycling through the AoE decreased defense and that A1 3-hit. So if you're just looking for some champions who have more multi-hits, very, very good options. All those champions. There's just not a ton of champions who have good turn meter reductions on their A1. I think Fane does. It's not very big. I think it's like a 5% steal, Panthera, the Skinwalker, I think, champion, has a turn meter reduction on A1, also a heal reduction. I'm hoping that Fireknight doesn't really get any turns, so the heal reduction, I'm not bringing that along, but those champions are possible options. Just when it comes to this, it's really looking for champions with turn meter reductions and then applying a decreased speed. If you can get increased speed on your champions with a champion like Broadmaw, perfect, okay? It helps out so much. Now, if we use, okay, so this is gonna be a little bit tricky here because nobody is decreasing the turn meter fully. Now, we are getting those extra turns from Satyr, but he's probably gonna die here. This is where the res is so important, but hopefully Shatterbones doesn't use his A3. This is the issue. Some of these champions have pretty weird AIs, and as you can see, Shatterbones uses A2 when the shield was still up. He will use his A3 when the shield is still, well, sorry, he uses A3 when the shield was up previously. He will use his A2 when the shield's up. Rosin will use his A3 when the shield is up. Satyr will use his A2, which is not a big deal because it is a 4 hit, which is pretty solid. So they'll all use their abilities that are so valuable when the Fireknight has his shield still up. Now, this is going to be a long run. I'm going to go ahead and take Rosin and put his decreased defense and weaken, apply it to the boss, just so this can speed it up just a little bit. But this run is not a speed run whatsoever. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm trying to portray this as a speed run. The sole purpose of this is hopefully you guys can find some value in it, maybe edit a team around it, build a team so you can complete this. If I'm going to do this and make it faster, I'm probably going to be throwing Maneater in here. Honestly, maybe stacking with a little bit more accuracy, get him to that 200 level, just so I can get to the Fireknight, have the unkillable plus the block debuffs up. The Fireknight's not going to kill me. The A2 from Maneater is going to steal the Fireknight's turn meter, so it's really going to help me keep the Fireknight's turn meter at bay. Just a very solid champion, plus an A1 that does a decreased attack, which is very solid. So I'll probably bring in Maneater, maybe even 2 of them. Very good champion to bring in. There's a lot of other good options, but if you have the bare minimum, which literally all of these champions are pretty accessible with the possibility of not being Shatterbones, okay? Shatterbones is an epic champion who you have to open from a shard. Bellower is a void rare. You also have to open from a shard, but everybody else, I literally got Satyr from the market a few hours ago. On stream, got lucky, bought him from the market. Broadmaw, the fusion, Rosin, also a fusion. So those 3 champions, easy, free to get. Bellower and Shatterbones are the only ones possibly that you're going to have to work a little bit harder for. Now, this can also translate into a regular Fireknight 20 team. Fireknight 20 is not a very fast dungeon, typically in general. So if you have these champions, these can help you at least get through it a little bit. Now, you see here that it's not 100% and it's not a super safe run, okay? You can see how when the Fireknight's turn meter started going up there, we got super lucky that Rosin had that A3 ability off cooldown and didn't miss it or didn't weak hit. Well, he's not going to weak hit, but didn't get resisted, because had he got resisted, I would have been screwed, because Satyr doesn't have fast. He's not fast enough. He's like 200 something speed. Honestly, if I could get him to go like 250, or if I could get him in reflex gear, I would put him in that. If I wanted to rebuild him and really maximize him, I would put him at 85% crit rate, worry about the crit rate as little as possible. But since the A2 requires me landing a crit to decrease the turn meter, the crit rate is so important for me. And here, we may even die. We may even die right at the end, unless somebody can clutch this up, which they very well might not. And I'm probably going, oh, look, see, Rosin got right to the end, clutched it up perfectly, but their abilities are all on a pretty similar cooldown structure. You can see Rosin uses A3, Shatterbones uses A2, and Satyr uses A2 ability, which also all have the biggest turn meter decreases. But hey, we got to the end, 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Honestly, I've seen worse runs, but if you leave this on overnight, it will give you enough points to hopefully compete in your tournament, depending on how many points your leader has. But hopefully with this video, you guys can take something from it, maybe build a team similar, and at least take the turn meter control in consideration, right? Satyr is a very solid option if you're looking for somebody better, but overall, I think this team is very free to play, low spinner friendly. Now, obviously, if you're not even doing stage 20, this is not going to be the magic ticket to do stage 20. It is by no means the best team to do stage 20, but since we have these weird tournament rules, but a pretty solid first place reward and even a second place reward. I might not get first place, but second place, it's a pretty easy option to get. And heck, maybe you just need 1 or 2 victories just to get this ancient shard at the very bottom. So guys, let me know what you're using down in the comment section below. If you're using anything that's also pretty easily accessible, did you find any champion in the Gaellen the Gaellen. Is that what it is? That's what faction is, right? That's what faction group it is. Did you find any champions in this group that maybe is like a hidden gem that is actually really good on Fireknight? I mentioned a few of them. Grappler being one I think would be very solid if I had him. I don't have him, unfortunately, but I do think he's a pretty solid option. Fleshmonger being the other one with the A3 that I mentioned. So guys, let me know. Hopefully you do well in your tournament bracket. Hopefully you end up getting the Void Shard. Hopefully you get a Hegemon. Hopefully you get a Siphi. Hopefully you get something good from that. But either way, guys, thank you all very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.